Okay, and if it's not in the Torah, you don't have to believe it. So much is built about around what's not in the Torah. Like I had a discussion today with someone who his whole religion, and he's an Orthodox Jew, but his whole religion is built off of midrashim. Now, clearly, no one's going to want to do anything with kavana, anything that seems mystical, if he feels that it's optional to believe. And this is just the way the human brain works. We have better things to do. So I don't think the average Jew has ever been confronted with that question. Is this belief or practice optional to believe? Is that one? Right? They're like, what do you mean optional to believe? This is just what we do. Of course, it's all lumped in together. This is why when people teach it, they teach like it's all given on Mount Sinai. And I know it's easier to do it like that. But in this day and age of people asking sophisticated questions about ethics and religion, I don't think that's going to fly. And I think it gathers the people who would have come anyways, right? But not the ones I think could really impact this world for the better. I mean, the average person, this is why like most people who do outreach for Judaism, they're only going to convince people who were already slightly convinced to begin with. But I don't see them convincing someone who has serious questions, who is in some way going to war with the ideology and wants to be either proven wrong or right? I mean, some people, they don't have a turtle in that race. They just want to be on the right path, but they want to know that that path is able to stand up to scrutiny. Right, so when you see rabbis with a whole room of Jews or whatever, that doesn't mean anything, because those guys probably would have came anyways. They come to whoever gives them the most money or offers them the fancier trip to Israel. Try to go to a college campus and engage someone who studies philosophy, who studies ethics. I'm just saying, those are the ones that I think, if you can convince them, those people could convince thousands. Now, don't get me wrong. Everyone who comes to Torah is a great thing. And clearly someone has to be out there bringing people who would have come anyways to any religion, right? And just goes with the one who offers them the most, right? That's what's called amcha, the average person in the street. But there aren't too many, at least in the Orthodox world, challenging thinkers to come to Torah. And the average rabbi on college campuses, like Chabad, I mean, they're typically not rationally minded Jews in the vast majority of cases. No, I mean teaching Torah while keeping the Torah's integrity intact by teaching the stories that are in it as they appear, but from a rational perspective. I don't see anyone who does that, just because I don't think it's possible. If you're going to try to justify every midrash or every agadah like you justify Torah, I don't think you're going to get very far. Just because we have a hard enough time justifying Torah. Let's just stick to the Torah, justify and prove the Torah. And then in terms of Torah Shebaal Peh, what we call oral law, we let them know that this is what we do to keep us progressing in a uniform manner. This is our civil norms instituted by our Supreme Court. Fine, if it's taught like that, I think a lot more people would come to Judaism.
It seems to me, though, it seems like that ship is sailed. I mean, it seemed like in the past, our sages of these great men that lived in the past, they were great minds. These I mean, some of these people, like Maimonides, for example, he was like a physician, he was a dietitian, he was a mathematician, he knew all the sciences. I mean, some of the brightest minds of history were great rabbis, these great sages, and they didn't seem to have a problem to debate philosophy with the Gentiles and the Greeks and sit around and ponder life's mysteries. Is this something that we can look forward to in the future? Is this something that we can bring back?
That form of Judaism is pretty much dead. Dead in the sense that less than 1% of Jews practice that Maimonidean style of Judaism. Now, I try to be a student of the Rambam and teach the Rambam's ideas. But when someone thinks of Judaism, if anyone has a conference and invites a rabbi to speak, 9 out of 10 times he's going to invite a Chabad Shaliach, and forget it. So we've lost everyone in that room or any bright, inquisitive mind that possibly would have considered Judaism. And I know a bunch of them. I mean, that's my circle. My circle is the rationalist crowd, but it's so tiny that it's just, I mean, just type in Judaism on YouTube and see what you get. That's what people are listening to. And I don't think it's just a problem that affects Judaism, but Islam as well, and Christianity. For some reason, there's always going to be more kooks than people who want to think their way through things, who need to be inspired to want to do the right thing. Like I said, most people who come to religion are people who would have come anyways. I say that the vast majority of people who come are typically nutty people. Religion draws in a lot of crazy people. And those are the ones who typically end up representing that religion. Like they say that most psychotherapists are nuts. Why? Because they enter the profession to kind of deal with their own problems, and then they end up making their students crazier than they were. Same thing with the religious world. There's a lot of people dealing with a lot of problems, and they think they're going to find those answers in religion. So those are the ones who are constantly learning this and that, and they never really overcome their neurosis, and they make their students crazier than they are. So this is why I'm not there to tell you that Torah is there to make you good or to fix your brain. No, I think Torah is there to make you better. You have to come to this belief system with a clean mind, right? I mean, clearly not perfect. I mean, the Torah is what polishes us up, but it's not there like a tonic. This is why I do believe that Torah is not for everyone, at least at the outset. You for sure have to be able to walk before you can run. I think it's for anyone coming from Christianity or Islam, from any sophisticated belief system. For someone who behaves like a caveman, I wouldn't want him around my kids or in my synagogue. And this is why I think that God even put a test in the beginning to see who was the one who was going to carry that torch. And Abraham passed that test. I think the understanding is that God speaks to everyone, but it was Abraham who basically took the time to listen, to realize, like, you know what, I want a piece of this, and picked up from where he was, and he went to where God wanted him to be. God wasn't just picking anyone, because ultimately Judaism is a sophisticated belief system, but there's a lot of nutty people running it to the ground. On YouTube, I've heard there's so many videos on Gehenna teaching that the reason you should want to keep Torah is because you're scared to burn in hell, and it's like so nutty. Now, you mentioned the Rambam earlier. The Rambam mentions that those who worship or follow God out of fear, that's the lowest form that God expects. In other words, you're doing something just because you're scared to get punished. Where's the intellectual back and forth? I mean, actually doing things because it's the right thing to do. That's the reason you should want to do it, not because you're scared of punishment, especially a punishment that doesn't even appear in Torah.